Welcome to the Destiny Awakening Interviews, a podcast with Andrew Wayfinder and his guests, bringing you powerful insights, inspiration, and ways to break free, live life your way, and make a difference in our changing and challenging world.
So hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another edition of the Destiny Awakening Interviews. I'm Andrew Wayfinder, and I'm joined today by Heather Hansen, a trial attorney turned business coach, keynote speaker, podcast host, and anchor at the Law and Crime Network. And a very warm welcome to you, Heather. Where are you hanging out tonight?
I am in Durham, North Carolina, which is a relatively new move to me, but I love it.
Okay, great. And so what we're want to move on to is Heather's work and Heather's book, because the reason I wanted to speak with Heather is not just because she's an expert in powerful, effective communication after 20 plus years as an award-winning trial lawyer, but she's written not one, but two books on the subject. The first one is her bestseller, The Elegant Warrior: How to Win Life's Trials Without Losing Yourself. And coming out soon is Advocate to Win: 10 Tools to Ask for What You Want and Get It. So thank you, Heather, for your time today.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. So the title is Advocate to Win, and Heather is going to unpack that idea for us in 6 questions. So the time starts now. You'll have 7 to 9 minutes. So the first question is, who is your ideal reader, and what's the transformation your book or books will help them achieve?
My ideal reader tends to be women, but it's those people who are at a transition in their lives. So sometimes it's just beginning their career and wanting to advocate for themselves as they start a new job, or look for investors for their new company that they're beginning, or even in their personal life, asking for more support or better boundaries. And then sometimes it is people who are at a transition in their career, whether that's going back to work after some time at home or switching from a corporate to entrepreneurship. And the transformation that I hope for them to see is twofold. I want them to be able to advocate for themselves and their worth, but before that, they have to know it. You know, we can't advocate until we believe. And so the transformation that I hope is that they know their worth, and then they're able to advocate for it effectively.
Well, that's certainly something I see a lot with my clients is, mustering up the courage to open your mouth and, say the thing that's on your heart.
That's right.
To your boss, to your partner, to whomever. So what's the biggest challenge they face?
Well, to speak to exactly what you just said, Andrew, I refer to it, and especially in the second book, as your inner jury. And when I tell my clients that we're going to work on the inner jury, they often automatically assume that that's the part of them that's critical and judgy. And that's not true. A jury in the courtroom doesn't speak. And a jury is simply there to choose. They choose between two stories, and your inner jury is choosing between two stories. They're choosing between the story of, I shouldn't speak, I'm afraid, there's not enough to go around, I'm not going to get it, I'm not good enough, and the story that I'm completely capable, I have a lot to offer, this client needs me, I should take this chance, I should go outside of my comfort zone. And I think the biggest challenge is that sometimes we don't even give voice to that positive attorney who's arguing, I am good enough, I have what I need, I'm more than capable. And so the work that I often do is just simply to give voice so that the inner jury actually has a choice and isn't just hearing the negative.
Well, and that reminds me actually of one of the things, in couples work. There's this sort of rule of thumb that you need to have 4 or 5 good memories or good experiences for every bad one.
Yep. Because
our brain hangs on to the bad memories because, those are the ones that are going to kill us.
Right. That's right. Yeah. In work, I love that statistic. They say at work, it's 3 negatives for every positive. And so you've really got to undo it. In marriage, as you said, it's 4 to 5. And so we do tend to hear the negatives more loudly. And part of what my books do, and a lot of what my coaching is to be the voice for the other side and to help the inner jury at least have options.
Yeah, cool. So just over 3 minutes, question number 3. What's the number one insight you can share to help people right now?
I think the number one insight is, as far as the book is concerned, is that the tools that we use in the courtroom to persuade our juries work outside of the courtroom as well. So I've mentioned the inner jury, the part of you that chooses, but you also have your juries no matter what you do. It might be your clients, your customers, your investors, your students, if you're a teacher, your patients, if you're a doctor, your friends, your family. And so if you look to a trial attorney and the way that they use evidence and questions and credibility and perspective, you can use those tools as well to persuade your jury and ultimately win.
What's your favorite tool?
Credibility, but favorite and the most imperative is credibility, because I can't win if the jury doesn't believe. And as I've already noted, I can't advocate until I believe. So the book goes through each of the tools and first applies it to the inner jury and then applies it to the outer jury. How to build credibility with yourself and then how to build it with others.
That reminds me of a salesperson I once trained with who said, the four most powerful words you can offer as a salesperson is being able to look at someone in the eye and say, I can help you.
Yeah.
And,
I think that that's right, as long as they believe that you can help them, right? And that's the credibility piece.
Yeah, so cool. So 4.5 minutes-ish. Question number 4. What concept, book, program, or talk has been most impactful for you in your experience, in your own development?
Oh, I am such a voracious reader. I read a lot. And for my podcast, I make sure that I read the books of every guest that comes on. But I would say, it's such a tough question. I would say that one of the books that I come back to again and again, and I refer to a lot, and I use some of the exercises in my talks, is To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. Daniel Pink is also a reformed lawyer, and I don't know that he ever tried cases, but he has a lawyer's mind, and he talks about how everyone is selling. And I've always thought of part of my job in the courtroom is selling my case to the jury. And so that's a great book to sort of talk about how you are selling and the way that we've sort of thought of selling as a negative thing. I'd also just tell your listeners that there is a book club called the Next Big Idea Book Club that is books curated by Malcolm Gladwell, Daniel Pink, Adam Grant, and Susan Cain.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's fabulous. And so every quarter they send out 2 books that they recommend, and then you get to talk about them in a Facebook group and all of that. And so those books, I mean, I could name a lot of them that have impacted my coaching and my talks.
Mm-hmm. And what about, I don't know, philosophically, or not how you operate in the world, which sounds like what these books are about, but is there anything that's really shifted how you are in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is. I don't know if you're familiar with Byron Katie.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal thought leader. And it's a lot about just questioning your own story. She
Mhm.
has what she calls the work with a capital W, and it's 4 questions. And the first question is simply, is that true? And I think that we go through our lives convincing ourselves of things that aren't true, and then sometimes living down to those stories we tell ourselves. And if we can tell ourselves a different story and allow the inner jury to choose a different story, we can completely change our lives.
Okay, great. So question number 5, what free resource would you like to share with the audience that will help them?
I think that it sort of follows the last answer. Byron Katie has a ton of free resources and access to a lot of her talks on her website, which I think is byronkatie.com. And the other thing that I would point people to is the TED Talks, online. You can go on to TED.com and find talks on any host of different topics. And I find that those are often, because they're short and because they're so well curated, you can get some great information there. And then the last thing I'd say is I'm a huge podcast junkie. And I feel as though if I don't have time to read all the books I want to read, if I listen to the author on a podcast talk about the book, I often get almost as much as I do from reading the book.
Yeah, that's one of my hacks. And is there anything you would like to offer from your universe, from your website or anything like that
So
would be useful.
yeah, so the thing that I'm offering right now is something I'm really excited about because I put a lot of time and effort into it. If people pre-order my book, and the book is available, Advocate to Win is available right now on Amazon, and they email me a copy of their order number or their receipt and email me heather@advocatetowin.com, I will send them a 10-part course using each of the steps that are discussed in the book. It's a $500 value. It's a course that other people have gone through, and I have outrageously good testimonials for that course. It goes through each of the tools, and there's videos and workbooks
Oh,
and
wow.
conversations.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's huge offering, huge offering. And the reason I'm so excited about it is I've seen it change people's lives. And so it's a great thing. And all you have to do is buy the book.
Cool. And question number 6, what should I have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many things because of this. I would say the question that I most like to answer is why? Why do I do this? Why has this become such a big part of my life? And the reason is because I was such a good advocate for my clients in the courtroom for 20 years, and I didn't know how to advocate for myself. And as a result, I didn't always set the boundaries that I should set. I didn't always ask for the things, the money, the raises, the anything. And once I learned how to advocate for myself, Andrew, my entire life changed. I became an author. I became a podcast host. I became a TV anchor. I moved to New York City, and then I moved to Durham. I mean, everything changed. And so I want that for my readers and my clients and the people in my keynotes.
Well, that is a beautiful place to stop. So that's perfect, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thanks for listening to the Destiny Awakening interviews. If you have a friend who would benefit, please share and subscribe to the show on iTunes and leave a review. We really appreciate it. And remember, always use your power for good.